So the first week of hunting at home here was pretty slow. A lot of corn harvesting, so I didn't get to go out much. Here's opening night. Amy's going in the north ditch across the fence. You can see that screening cover. It's just a big brush pile. It runs all the way to the fence. There's production corn back there. It's not a food plot necessarily. That's our exit strategy for the night. So if there's deer around by us on an evening sit, we'll light up that coyote call, which is, 50 yards away. So that's our exit strategy. There's also a little water hole that I built this summer, and all we had come in tonight or the first night was this little buck. So here's later on in the week. Um, Here's also our entrance route along the standing corn and a fence line. And Amy's going to sit a blind and hopefully try and get a doe tonight. So we're basically on a doe harvest mission early in the season because we don't have the good play on any of what I would call our shooter bucks. Just more footage of the entrance route. So a really windy day too, so it's easy to get in without bumping any deer. And all we saw that night was a doe and a fawn, and I wanted to include this footage. There's the doe looking up there. Wanted to include this footage. So I want to talk a little bit about this fawn. Is a buck fawn. So we're going to try and harvest this doe because if we harvest the doe, that buck fawn will stay on our property. He won't get dispersed next spring or next fall. So that's the key. If you're trying to harvest some does, there he is, little buck fawn. If you're trying to harvest some does, a good doe to harvest is one with a buck fawn. Even better is twin buck fawns, triplet buck fawns. You get the idea. But that didn't happen. We never got a shot at that doe, and I think the combine spooked her. But here's a few nights later. I think this is maybe night number 5 or 6, and I'm sitting in an observation stand. I can see a long ways from here. I'm actually sitting in a cow pasture, and I'm looking into the sun pretty heavy, but I can see a long ways. Now this is standing beans, so I didn't expect to actually see a lot of movement on these standing beans right at this specific time. I did see some does and fawns. There's a little buck. Uh, and Amy went back this same night to that same blind where she saw, or where we saw that doe and that buck fawn a few nights earlier, and her goal was to kill that doe. So I'm doing an observation sit, and she's going after that doe tonight to try and orphan that buck fawn. All those little fingers and draws going up through those beans. If this was corn, deer would be using that, but not so much in the beans. And she got that doe. So that's us dragging out that doe. So she pretty put a pretty good hit on that doe, and it was an easy track job. So one down, one doe down, orphan buck fawn. This was just last night, so that would be October 8th, and I'm sitting in a water hole. So this is the first hunt that I've actually been on this year. You can see the water hole back there. And I saw a bunch of deer. This little buck came in using the water hole. I saw a bunch of does and fawns using the water hole. I mean, there's nothing too crazy. This isn't super exciting footage. And there we got a little buck fawn again. So this buck fawn came in all by itself, and I never did see the doe. Otherwise, I probably would have orphaned it. And same premise is shoot the does with buck fawns. And then that buck fawn will stick around. He won't go. He won't get displaced. He won't disperse to a different property. And that's your future 5 and 6-year-old buck right there. So you talk about attract and holding and growing big bucks. That's one of the ways you do it right there. Is you orphan out those buck fawns. What do we got here? We got another little buck coming through, I think, maybe. Headed to that water hole. Oh no, this is what I wanted to show. There's a doe here, and she's chasing that fawn in front of her. And that fawn was another buck fawn. And I wanted to film it because we'll get our does. It's not an issue of whether or not we're going to get our target doe numbers. But I wanted to show her she's already nudging that buck fawn. If that had been a doe fawn, she wouldn't have been doing that. So that buck fawn's going to get orphaned or is going to get displaced unless we kill that doe. But it's pretty thick in here. I'm on the basically the downwind side of bedding. This is a really good rut spot, fantastic rut spot. But I wanted to get in here where there was a little bit of a wind, and I could sneak in here and hunt this water hole. Then I just wanted to point out too, this might be not the greatest footage. This was pretty tough. I'll get it here. Hang on a second. But another doe came in. There she is. Could barely see her. And she bedded down just to the north of me. And I just wanted to point out when this happens, I didn't really have to look around now for about a half an hour because all I had to do was watch her. And she would tell me if any other deer were going to come in or not. And another doe came in, and I think she's eating black oak acorns. I think that's a black oak along that edge. A lot of the deer did that. They came to that water hole and they nibbled on those black oak acorns and then left. That's what this guy's doing. Another buck fawn came in. Imagine that. And this buck fawn was by itself too. So I don't understand if this. They obviously don't get displaced this time of year. But the doe wasn't around. Yeah, really exciting footage, right? Filming a bunch of fawns. That's just what you wanted to see. But I wanted to film this stuff just so I'd have some B-roll, and because I wanted to talk about how important it is if you're going to shoot does, shoot the does with buck fawns. I don't know how many times I can say that, but that's really important for year 4 and 5 down the road. And if you do that consistently every single year, you'll have a good crop bucks every single year coming in. So I didn't really have the camera ready, but this buck came in and made a scrape right underneath me. I think he's a 2-year-old. Nice little 2-year-old 9-pointer. He went right to the water hole. I couldn't film him making that scrape because he came in kind of quick, and I didn't want to do too much movement and bust them. So a lot of deer using this water. It's a severe drought where we are right now, and so that was the reason why I keyed in on this water source for this night. I could have shot a lot of the deer that I saw tonight, October 8th. And they sure were keying in on this water source. And then they were heading out to destination food, which unfortunately for us this year is not anything we can hunt or put a play on. That's that same 2.5. He made a scrape here across the pond. Or I don't know if he actually even made a scrape, but he's hitting that licking branch or that branch here pretty hard. So that's basically it for the first week. A lot of combining corn. Amy and I didn't have a really good play on any of our, you want to say like shooter bucks. So we just kind of have that slow play. We want our season to last. And so we'll be doing some more observation sits this next week and kind of bouncing around and trying to use the wind. Hopefully the wind switches a lot so we can hit a lot of new stands. The one good thing, we got a clip here coming up, is this buck I call Picket. I had a video earlier that talked about the up and coming buck, so I named this buck Picket, and he showed back up. So he was a mainframe 12 last year, and he is again this year. And here's another 10-pointer. This is not Gummy. We're going to call this one Worm. Amy named him Worm, but that's another buck we'll be hunting this season.